Game time for the Democrats as they get set to take the stage for their first presidential primary debate tonight in Las Vegas. Frontrunner Hillary Clinton will come face to face with her biggest rival by far, Bernie Sanders, who's been drawing massive crowds around the country and surging in the polls. Also on the stage tonight, you'll see former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, former Virginia Senator Jim Webb, and former Rhode Island Governor Lincoln Chafee. Three candidates barely registering in the polls who hope that they can change all of that tonight. Now, the debate comes as new Fox News polls show that Hillary's support, well, it's slipping among Democrats. While she remains out front at 45%, the former Secretary of State has dropped, look at this, 16 points since June. Yet her biggest opponent may not be on the stage tonight, as those new polls show that Clinton is trailing some top-tier Republicans. Check this out. Hillary's behind Ben Carson by 11 points in a general election, Donald Trump by 5, Jeb Bush by 4, and Carly Fiorina, that other woman, by 3. All right, so a lot of pressure on Mrs. Clinton tonight, Arthur. She has got to perform. And Bernie Sanders, I mean, this is the first time they've matched, seen a face-to-face match-off. He doesn't have to do a lot of prep if you watch the guy. He knows what he stands for.
But just like when you wake up in the morning that you're giving a big summation, like you wake up, and believe me, they're nervous wrecks. They are. And Hillary has the most to lose, as does any front runner. The other candidates are trying to get any kind of traction, especially O'Malley, because he's the realistic alternative to Hillary. I don't think anyone's really going to go in there and pull a trigger for someone who's a self-proclaimed socialist. But if Hillary really goes down the toilet for whatever reason, he's the real person. He's the logical alternative. So I think there's a lot of pressure on him to show what type of person he is, to get free advertising and see how he comes out of the box. And for Hillary, she just has to come off as likable.
You don't think that tens of thousands of people showing up at his rallies and cheering for him, they're not going to go in and pull the lever for him?
Yeah, but that won't be enough. I mean, it's such a narrow little sliver. It's the sliver that I thought Donald Trump had, but his sliver is still getting wider. Whereas they're not. No, I don't think that he's actually, at the end of the day, when people have to pull the lever, I don't think he's a real threat to Hillary.
It is the year of the outsider, Sandra, and he has galvanized support among the Democratic base. So I think there's a good chance tonight, again, because Bernie Sanders, if you watch him, he's not overly scripted. He knows where he stands. Hillary Clinton, she doesn't know which side of an issue that she's on. So she's really, I think, potentially in some trouble tonight.
Yeah, so by far and away, Bernie Sanders has the most to gain. And she's going to have to defend a lot of her positions, like the Keystone Pipeline, for example, which turned up that there's no environmental risk to this, and she's still opposing it. So I look forward to some serious questions on that for her. But while you say that Hillary Clinton has the most to lose because she's the clear frontrunner, usually in a debate scenario, the clear frontrunner should have the easiest time, right? Because all you have to do is go defend your stances that people are already supporting.
You also have the target on your back. I mean, look what happened with Trump in the last debate. I mean, he did well the first time at Fox and CNN. He did.
What I'm pointing out is unprecedented and different in this situation is the fact that she's been coming down in the polls so much, so fast, most recently, and that's what's going to make this different than
it. But I think if you look at ours, if you look at Hillary, if you want to look at the glass half full, she's been getting beaten up by all sides, on all fronts for like 4 months. And the fact that she's still at 45% means she does have a solid base.
But she has made it worse, Harris. I think she's been her own worst enemy. I mean, Bernie hasn't taken that many shots at her up until this point. Yeah. But check out this new poll, and I want you to react. Trump is now beating Hillary Clinton in a general election, 45-40. Now, in June, it was 34 for Trump, 51 for Hillary. And Harris, we just saw Clinton dropped 10 points in 5 days. So she's like a lead balloon.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I picked up on, Arthur, in terms of how much she's slid in the past few months is that she was quiet during all that time. She's now sliding and she's been fighting, and she's supposed to be such a great fighter. And she is very scripted. So her script and her fighting ability are still not keeping the polls right where they were. I would say this, if the email scandal comes up, and I say if because I never know, what the other networks will do. But if it comes up and she has to answer for that, I would suggest that she not make the questioner feel stupid for the question, because that in the long run makes the rest of us look that way and all the voters. If I were her, I would simply say, you know what? I see why you're asking. I was wrong. I made a mistake. I apologize, and then move on. But the minute she goes down the road of trying to explain her side, she makes that questioner and the rest of America feel
If I was
dumb for
guiding her, I
asking.
would tell her the same thing you just said. I would
Melissa,
have her say exactly what you just said, and luckily
Melissa.
nothing bad happened.
Melissa, how do you think she approaches this tonight? Which Hillary are we going to see on the stage tonight? Is she going to cry? Is she going to be
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about that later in the show, is women's approaches to arguments and stuff and how it helps them. Crying would help her. I mean, I would never suggest that. But I think it's interesting how the conversation around this debate has changed so much. Originally, we were talking about how she was sort of wrapped in bubble wrap and she was being, protected by the Democratic Party, and how these debates were going to be so boring because no one was going to go after her. Now things have changed so much. I mean, remember when we talked about Bernie Sanders, that they picked someone so far to the left it would make her look like the center? Now she needs that territory back. Now she's fighting him for that because her base has evaporated. This was supposed to be a very safe debate for her. I think now she is going to be attacked. I would say look for her to try and show vulnerability. That would be smart. That moment of something like tears, like real emotion.
Well, it makes me cringe when you say crying would help. But I think you're right.
Though, but let's be honest.
Because she believes it works with women. She thinks it resonates with women. And I also think she's going to outflank Bernie on the left tonight on the issue of guns, where she sees him to be vulnerable.
Well, stick-to-itiveness is going to be an issue for her. Because, I mean, when you look at the 12-nation trade pact deal that she trumpeted when she was Secretary of State, and then flipped that. Yeah. Just in recent days saying, no, I'm against it. I have a different bar to set, whatever, blah, 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 blah. It's a flip.
Yeah.
Right? So that stick-to-itiveness is going to be difficult for her.
All right. Well, when the Democratic candidates take the stage this evening, they won't be pitted against each other, at least according to CNN moderator Anderson Cooper. In a recent interview, he says that he won't be encouraging confrontation between the candidates, but will instead let them talk about the issues. Well, that is a sharp contrast from the GOP debate that CNN hosted last month. Now, you remember moderator Jake Tapper said that he wanted the candidates to go head to head. Isn't this how they do it, Sandra? They tee up the Republicans, and then they don't want any Dem on Dem.
Well, I'm just a little confused because by definition, it's no longer a debate if you're just giving them a platform to talk about the issues. So I certainly hope that they are pitted against each other because they do have a lot of differing views. You just brought up gun control. We've seen Bernie Sanders, who's so far left, but yet on gun control, he's quite the libertarian when it comes to his gun control stance. And Hillary Clinton has moved so far to the left on that issue. That is going to be a great debate talking point. If they miss that, they do America a disservice.
Okay, expert debater in the House, Arthur Aidala. Are you shocked by this? I mean, does Bernie need to jump in and then debate her if Anderson's not going to sort of tee that up?
Well, Sandra's just made it, you said it so perfectly, so simply. A debate is between two people going back and forth. This isn't the Democratic monologue. Let's all go out there and have a monologue. It's about the sparring. And let's talk about television and let's talk about ratings. What the Fox News channel is awesome at, especially in prime time when people come home from work and are a little tired, they keep you going. They keep you interested. They keep you involved. They don't want to have Anderson Cooper say, what are your thoughts on this? Well, my thoughts on this are this, that, and the other thing. They want to, viewers want to see the sparring. So it's gonna happen, I think, organically, no matter what Anderson Cooper wants or doesn't.
I mean, there's the idea of unfair attacks where you're attacking someone's looks, those sort of things that in theory don't matter. But then there's challenging your opponent on their beliefs or calling them out on places where you think they're contradicting their past, behavior or thoughts. I mean, these are the kind of things, that's what a debate is made of. You're supposed to get in there and say, no, that's not what you said before. You're not being true to your record. Well, then what were you thinking when you voted this way? I mean, that's what a debate's all about.
To give him the benefit of the doubt, Jake Tapper's idea might have been fine had he had them go head-to-head on something other than each other. Like if it had been about substance and issues. Oh, by the way, Donald Trump has just tweeted out in the last little while that he'll be covering the Dem debate live on Facebook.
Oh, that should be fun.
You're right. So
his Twitter is one of the most fun places to be. Well, guess what, Arthur? Hillary Clinton has tried to debate Donald Trump, which shows me that she's a little bit vulnerable and she sees him as a threat. We have a soundbite. I'm going to play it for you. Hillary going after the Donald. Take a listen.
Some people think Mr. Trump is entertaining, but I don't think it's entertaining when somebody insults immigrants, insults women. That is just unacceptable behavior. And so when we're here together in solidarity to organize. We also want to send a message to Mr. Trump that if you are going to run for president, then you should represent all the people of the United States.
Wow. Picking a fight.
Well, she has to. I mean, you just highlighted the poll that she went from kicking his butt in June to losing to him in October. So she's got to take it to him. She's got to, what does he say? The best offense is a good defense. No, the best defense is a good offense. That's what she's doing, and that's what she's got to do tonight as well.
All right, so Donald Trump has talked about why candidates do this, and he says, you know what? First it elevates them, and then they get out of the race. He said that's how it's been happening. I don't think that that's what's going to happen with her, but it is interesting. She picks a fight on the eve of the big debate because what does it do? It elevates her. Everybody wants a little piece of that.